this on computer. All right, there we go. We're recording. Are we recording?
Are we? Got it?
Yeah. Okay. So
Yeah, we're recording. We're recording.
Jack, can you stop drawing penises, please?
It wasn't a. Oh my god! It was not that. It was a smiley face.
Sure
I
it
just
was.
draw. No, it was. It's just I draw bad.
Oh,
No,
got
it
it.
really is.
I didn't pick this article because of the females in here.
What?
It's a big veiny smiley
It just
face,
happened to be. Oh God, dude.
huh?
Okay, let me show you how I draw on annotate, just to
No,
demonstrate.
just stop, Jack. Stop. Okay, are we ready?
We're ready.
Again. Going again.
This is so freaking amazing, dude. Okay, ready? Jack, why don't you do the intro this time?
Oh, and welcome to the board state,
There
where
we go.
we talk about social good and social change in game.
Is that what we talked about?
I was
Sometimes.
gonna say we're talking about social good and social change in game development, and also how game development works. As you could see, I'm not usually the one doing the intros. Moving on to the guys who usually do the intros. Yay!
Hey, I'm Alika. I'm Alika Spawn Night here. I am the art hand of the group, and this is Jeffrey Vierra. Who are
Your
you?
voice. Hi there.
This is Jeffrey Vierra.
Oh, I never
Thank you
plugged in
for-
my good mic. Too late
Thank
now.
you for
All right.
joining us today.
Yeah. So if you're one of the 15 people that listen to our show, you would know what it's about. We talk about game design for social good. We pick articles that stood out to us in the past week, and then we do a deep dive into that article. It's been a couple of weeks, I think, since we've done an episode. We've been a little busy.
Yeah.
A
Yep.
little bit. Yeah.
A little bit.
Little bit.
Yeah.
Doing stuff.
It's all
Doing
good.
game
It's all
stuff.
good. Doing
Yeah.
game stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, we should start maybe advertising some of our games on this platform. I think that'd be very cool as well.
Yeah, that'd be a good idea. That'd be a good idea. I know that some other people are listening. I don't know if all of our loyal listeners, all 15 of them, have
There's a little
already.
more than that, but yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we don't know the data, Mr.V. You didn't want to provide any, so we don't know. It could be 1, it could be 0.
Jack is always so. Please excuse the youngest of us here. He's oftentimes. So Jack,
The
you're
young
talking
ones.
about specifically iTunes data, but we do have Google data. YouTube says subscriptions.
Yeah, YouTube has this
and-
thing
yeah.
underneath
You just look at it.
where it says subscribers and views and stuff like that. There's metrics easily available.
Back in my time, we think.
Back in my day, way back in 2001.
Gotta make sense.
It's gotta be.
It just has to make sense. Jack's like 18. Back in my day. This is back in your day.
Oh,
all right.
man.
Let's get going. All right. So the first article for today is GameIndustry.biz. This is an article that I found, and I thought this is a really cool article. Game designers must be included in the conversation around tech ethics, and even on a global scale. I think game design. So game designers are kind of the like if you imagine like in the Victorian era, or maybe even before the we'll say with the Victorian era. So imagine like the Victorian era where you had these gaslight inventors, right? So they're like really figuring out steam engines and getting ready for electricity, like all this, like really just kind of experimenting, and that kind of laid the foundation for a lot of inventions moving forward. I feel like that's the game designers today. Like gaming in general was just, well, in the Western view, traditionally, even going back hundreds and hundreds of years, games were used for all kinds of different purposes, especially in indigenous cultures. But games nowadays, well, not nowadays, I would say maybe a decade ago, were kind of written off as like these means of escapism, where you kind of go into a world and hang out there and then go back into your real life. But now, as as we all know, as our 15, I guess that's going to be our thing now. Our 15 loyal listeners. Shout out to the 15 loyal listeners.
We can name them all.
We can name them all. Yeah, so game design, game playing now. I mean, there's therapeutic reasons, to do it, and also to test out theories and ideas and things like that. So yeah, I think definitely game designers should be. It's just so cool, man. Game designers should be part of like the conversation on like a global scale. Maybe not all the game designers, but definitely most game. Because there's some people that don't belong.
Iffy game designers out there.
Yeah.
Corporate game designers.
Yeah. So let's start with Jack. We'll go Jack, then Alika. What are your thoughts on this article, Jack?
Honestly, we often see articles like this in the gaming news or news in radio, like CD Projekt Red, game developers being overworked, EA game developers being underpaid, and even in the indie scene, we still see the effects of it. Oh, you need to have this deadline done. We need to have this sequel to the game that you may successfully done because it has to be done. So like those stuff like as technical ethics can easily be applied, but also like new ethics when talking about like for example artificial intelligence can also be applied because we're often the guys programming artificial intelligences to either combat the player or to help the players. And what is the ethics behind that? Because some people there's conversations on like what is life and what is true life. And as programmers, we have a unique take on that as well. And ball gamings can also show these ethics as well. So game designers may vary on how much tech ethics will be applied to them. For example, like a ball gamer won't really know about artificial intelligence and all of the conversations about that because he's not focusing on that. Instead, he may be focusing on the manufacturing of his products or the manufacturing of his artworks and what countries could he sell or what countries he can't sell. That sort of ethics. While programmers may focus on the other tech ethics, which is artificial intelligence and so on and so forth. So I really think it's just a matter of perspective. Game developers in general should have that right, but you just need to ask the right questions for the right guys. You don't want to be asking somebody who may not know anything that like a question about life, you know?
Yeah, like a billionaire knowing about human health and biology, stuff like that.
Right. So like I, and but at the same token, this is not to dissuade anyone to like ask people or ask anyone. It's just to when you're asking these like high like very attentive questions, especially concerning ethics, it's always key to make sure you always ask the right individuals because ethics at the end of the day can change in the next 10 years or next 5 years due to whatever circumstance it could be. Like we see it in the film industry like every day now. Well, people are looking back into your past and so on and so forth. We're not going into that. This is not the filming podcast. This is the game development podcast.
Yep.
Cool. All right. Alika, your thoughts on
Um,
That's-
this whole thing is about loot boxes and gambling essentially, right? So
Oh,
I thought it
sorry.
was a super interesting article. I I actually ended up going and looking up loot boxes and just to see if this was a a Western or American problem or if this was a worldwide problem. And it is in fact a worldwide problem. But so I'm pretty sure everybody who listens to this podcast knows what loot boxes are. So probably not going to go into the details of those, but it is essentially like gambling. If you have to pay real money for it and you have a chance of getting something, yeah, it's gambling. And I really like Australia's solution to this. I felt like it was a pretty cut and dry, simple solution where essentially if you can make in-game purchases for loot boxes, the game is automatically rated mature, or in Australia it's rated R for, I guess they follow like the film rating. But yeah, I mean that's a pretty simple solution, I think, to curbing what could develop into childhood gambling habits in these games like Roblox. Like Roblox has Robux and
Mm-hmm.
Fortnite and all of that stuff that
D-Bucks.
yeah, that runs off of microtransactions and loot boxes. So I think if that was implemented in the US, that it would definitely curb a lot of people, a lot of developers from, or deter a lot of developers from putting these mechanisms into games meant for children. So yeah, it was a really interesting article. I liked it. It got my mind going and actually started
But
researching other things because of it. So yeah, great
I
article.
oh,
I also think that it needs to have teeth though, because like the thing about loot boxes, like especially now, they could just slap it on to like Star Wars and it's rated T. So they need to have like teeth when they're going after these companies, like how the UK is doing right now with EA and FIFA, because loot boxes can also go into like mobile gaming as well.
Well, yeah. So that was the thing about Australia's tactic towards combating this, where you just make any game at all that has in-game purchases, and loot boxes for you to purchase any game, automatically rated mature, because now that means that the person that bought it is now of the legal gambling age, essentially, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
and that's it. Um, so at that point, it is using the laws that are already there until better solutions are come up with. Using the laws that are already there to prevent children from purchasing or having access to a game, where they can make purchases and develop a gambling habit, essentially.
Right.
all right. That's some really good input there. Game designers must be included in the conversation around tech ethics. Absolutely. GameIndustry.biz. All right. Next article. Whoa, gee, I wonder who this one's from. Gran Turismo will be featured in an Olympic competition this year. That is crazy. Alika, I know this is your article. What is this article about?
So essentially now, this year, there's going to be an Olympic virtual series, where they so all the details. Let me get the
Wow.
details down. Yeah. So this will take place ahead of the Tokyo Olympics, and they're trying to make it so that there's these sports that are working in conjunction. So these different events will be sponsored by actual sporting bodies. So like the Fédération Internationale de l'Automobile will host a Gran Turismo competition. Union Cycliste Internationale will host a competition for Zwift, which offers virtual cycling and running courses. World's Baseball and Softball Confederation will host a competition for Konami's e-baseball Powerful Pro. Um, World Sailing will host a virtual regatta, and World Rowing doesn't really have anything yet, but they're going to be doing something. And I think that is super cool that they are putting these events on for virtual sports. Now, I don't I will never consider a video game a sport in the traditional sense, but I do believe it is a big skill. Like it is a high of course you have like these huge tournaments with like League of Legends, there's all this strategy that goes in. There's Street Fighter tournaments, and all of that stuff requires actual physical prowess. But it's a different thing. I wouldn't call it a sport in the sense that we know it. It might be a sport later on where like the definition of sport changes, but as of right now I don't call it a sport. But I think it's really cool to have this kind of competition and to open it up to more popularity and more exposure. Because I remember uh, when I was training martial arts every weekend, I would, well, go to class every weekend anyway. I would practice certain things in my video games, like distancing and timing and different modes of movement, like little patterns of movement that would help me in my actual sport. So I think stuff like this can bring about a whole new crowd of people who are specialists at the mechanics of these sports. And I think that is a very interesting new body of professionals that can grow out of this. And they are sports professionals. So, like Gran Turismo, I learned about cars by playing Gran Turismo and Forza. And that's actually how I learned about the best line to take in a race was following the line that was put out in front of me for in Forza when I played that. I learned what different tire pressures do, whatever different suspension tuning, what all of that could do in a simulation before I actually got to drive a car. So stuff like this can really help with like pit crews, something like that, where you have a whole bunch of people who are just insanely focused in the specific thing of that sport that they get to practice and become specialists in through video games. That could feed a whole bunch of new professions. So I think it's really interesting that this is happening, and I'm in full support of it, of course. So yeah, that's my take on this article. What do you think about it, Jack? And then we'll do Mr. V.
Okay, well, I will first have to say I think sports nowadays, especially esports, is more considered as traditional sports now. If not now, then in the next 5 years. Mostly because of a lot of the things, like how you say, the training, and also, but not just that, but the audiences and the sponsorship. I think that also I bring it up to which the could be here in the states, like the NBA or the NFL, or outside of the states, FIFA, and having those big events such as the always seeing out like seats and audience and attendance both on Twitch and also on live in person. It just means that it's just going to be more seen as a sport eventually, even more, especially after 2020. More people was uh got introduced to it and got introduced to the competitions doing it. I really also love the idea of the athletes using these games like Gran Turismo. Oh, I cannot speak today.
just
but,
roll
ba-
over it. Just keep going.
but Gran Turismo and Zwift basically using these virtual games as a way of upgrading their skills or keeping their skills not if not physically in shape, but mentally in shape, and keeping them their awareness on what things that could happen in the Olympics will always help them because, like, for example, Wakanda. I'm not too sure what game they're gonna choose for that, but like having a game for that and just having doing the motions for the Wakanda could really do a difference for like somebody going into the Olympics and have to like wait for 1 week to do it because they're in quarantine. So it's allowing them to practice even though they may not be able to.
Yeah.
So I will may see more like stuff like the UFC game being used for wrestling, or there is wrestling games. I'm not too sure if it's just WWE now. I hope not.
That would be
But
hilarious.
but like this can be applied to all of the other sports like track and field and the the sport where you're throwing the pikes. I have no idea what that's called. The Greek
Throwing the pipes?
no
Javelin
pike.
throwing?
Javins,
There you go.
yeah. As you can see, I know American football and football, but nothing to do with the Olympics. So,
Yeah.
but I just having that uh combination too. It's always gonna help not just gamers, but a lot more people understand what gaming can offer. Because like the Regal one could be for the Switch, and you could have people in a multiplayer setting and be like on the same regatta, and they have to do it, but under a time limit. For example, like
Yeah.
new games can be applied and to be made for these organizations so that way they don't have to be looking for something already made. Maybe they could find a game available to do it, or someone be inspired from these events to make one.
Yep.
But
Yeah, cool.
yeah,
Yeah, so I think I kind of agree with you, Alika. I kind of agree with you, Jack. I think what we're seeing is the evolution of sports beginning to happen.
Yeah.
Where 50, 75 years from now, these guys are going to be physically fit, and then they're going to jack into the system, and they're going to be somewhere, in this virtual space, like competing or whatnot, but they'll still be like in this space, right? But they're still going to require, physical things to
That
do
would be
versus
cool.
just kind of sitting there, right? But yeah, I mean, and that's not saying that like esports takes no skill. Of course it does,
Yeah,
right?
it does.
Yeah, of
right.
course it does. But yeah, this is awesome, and what this says to me is, one of the big benefits of COVID was, putting the world on pauses, looking for alternatives to traditional things, right? So this is, they're much more open to having virtual events.
Game development companies, and this week.
All right, we got a little sub commentary there by a certain Jack Hobbes. Thanks, Jack. I appreciate that.
Did not realize that Oracle has that video. And it plays
Mute everything.
automatically.
Yeah.
Like,
So just
what the hell?
gotcha. So just a viewer tip. Tip isn't for anybody, of us three, but whenever you're recording a show, podcast or presentation, it's a really good idea to go ahead and mute all the sounds on your computer, just in case you get a text message from somebody, or you're reading an article and there's embedded audio on there that might play. It could be a little bit
Jack did that
jarring.
on purpose for this educational part of the show.
Anyway, where the hell was I? Yeah, it's very, very cool. Esports is definitely a thing. My last thing I was gonna say is there's a lot of money in esports, a lot of money, and I think companies are beginning to understand just
Yeah.
how much, and the overhead, right? So it's like you can still charge people to attend and watch, but not have the upkeep of a location to maintain. And it's not as glamorous, of course, if you're just sitting at home watching it. But you can run these events 24 hours a day, and I know there's these sports teams that do. Actually, that'd be very cool. So I don't know if you guys can imagine maybe a future where you have streamers that are practicing, getting ready for an esports tournament, where you can actually watch somebody in a virtual setting train and get ready, or like a football team or something like that in a virtual setting. You can kind of log in and like hang out with them, like like cheer them on,
Yeah.
like that's my guy right there, whatever. I think it'd be very, very cool, and you could charge for that. You could certainly charge for that experience, right?
And
Have
for
like
to get in there, you get a loot box.
well, sure, yeah, okay. I don't know about the loot box, but
Well, but
no, I
also
mean,
it
no.
will help.
So what you would do is have tiers, more than likely, right? So for $500 a month, you get access to this. $300 a month, $100 a month, and so I think these like football fanatics would easily pay that.
Right.
You get like a special avatar too, so when you show up and other players are there, you look a certain way, like, oh, that, because you want to, as someone selling the content, you want to reward people visually in a virtual space for paying more, right? So that other people be like, oh wow, look at him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like fantasy football too. I could totally see this overtaking fantasy football within the next 25 years. Like people would start being like, why am I gonna like watch other people get my score up when I could just play it myself as these characters with all
Your
the
face
same
on it.
stats. Yeah. Like that would be way cool. I would watch a Madden tournament more than I would want to be involved in a fantasy football. Like yeah.
And then it's like the next level, right? Like I mean, so they have like maybe like legacy or traditional, and then they have like stuff where like there's like rockets and stuff, like, oh, you use this one power up, like it's all epic, right? Like, flying into space, holding the ball, then they're like turning on their rockets, flying up to get the guy. I'll be like, whoa!
Extreme
throwing the ball
VR
into
events.
a Chinese building, boom, grabs the ball, like, they're like, oh, I was like, whoa! I'm like watching that, like, what?
Oh, Jeff, can
Wait.
you imagine?
Oh my
Can you imagine a
God.
game like that? Because I remember there's these games for the Sega Genesis, might have been on SNES too. There's these like Monster League type of sports. I used to play these all the time. I played the football and the hockey, where there's this Monster League things where like in the hockey one you can deploy
So, I
like
mean,
there's.
yeah, I mean that's
crazy.
yeah, that'd be cool. But I mean, like you want it to be them, right?
Oh yeah, of
So
course,
it's
be
like,
them.
Right.
but then so I mean, I'm imagining almost kind of like a Justice League,
Yeah.
where like the guy's specialty is like speed, so he's the speed guy, and like whenever they win a game, they get points. And then they can allocate points to like certain skill, like the fast guy gets faster, the defense guy, right? So it's like, and there's like this RPG element, right? It's like, whoa, and then all these guys are predicting, okay, in the next, so just like Madden, right? Essentially, just like how you get points and you build your team up, so you can throw further. He can hold his breath longer in space, like whatever it is. That'd be awesome, dude. That'd be so cool.
We gotta make a
I
football
would be a football
game, Jeff.
fanatic. What?
We gotta make a football game now, just like that. That would be amazing.
It'd be really cool if somehow we could aggregate the stats like fantasy football into a game, and that's so like every week or every other week, like the state of the game changes based on how actual games are happening, right? And then there's like a whole other level of like gambling, like people like, oh, where like you have these players playing based on successes or failures of previous games.
Oh, hey, you're the mechanics guy. You're the mechanics translation guy, Jeff. Oh, if you did that, cool. And all you need is $199 a month to jump into this.
Well,
that's a good idea, Jeff.
Well, and then you can play again. So you could do like the Alika solo mode, where you can play against a team, right? So you can get like, actually, I'm surprised that doesn't exist. So you can play a game, but like the game that you play tomorrow is based on everybody's score. So you're fighting against almost like the all-stars, but like based on how they performed, and then you have your team that you made up to like fight against them. That'd be unreal. That'd be super cool.
Gotta cut this part out when you edit, Jack.
No.
Keep these ideas to ourselves.
No.
Anyway, yeah. So that's my thoughts on Olympic gaming.
Yeah, awesome.
All right. What is
we're
this
making
article?
a football game.
No, we're
Um,
just making it. We're just making a game. It just happens to be football.
Yeah,
Like we.
happens to be about that.
okay, try to not reload it because it will automatically play. I found that out the hard way, but basically this article is about students making a game
Mhm.
and being showcased over the convention of
See that, viewers? Look at that.
mm-hmm.
Mute.
and and honestly, it's just talking about their story on how they was trying to make the game and how they wanted it to be different from all of their others when entering this competition. And it was made from several different departments, but they in the article it was taking an interview from alumni Dixo Dumbo, and I'm not too sure if it's a he, she, or other. So I'm just gonna use he for now. But basically, coming from his perspective and how did they make this game, which was called Zolai. And well, it was focused on a young girl's quest to find her sister using the help of magic blanket, a cat, and other companions she met along the way. I just put it on here, honest to God, because one, it's talking about student developers. I really think that's one thing yo, yes, Mr. V or Jeff Vierra.
You're welcome to bleep this out.
Are they ready? No. When would they be ready? Unsure. They're exposed to it every day. They need to know. Not without training. Fine. Did you at least tell them about AWCY? I didn't even start with us. Okay, I was hoping you can get it done. It's been a week. I know, but unlike everyone else, this is different. The truth is going to come out. You can't shield them forever. Is that a threat? No, a state-made we both know to be a bloody fact. Fine, where do you recommend for me to start? Our group's name, of course. Yeah, I'm sure the big government fonts they're just going to love. Listen, I'm not the salesman you are, but you're
Cool,
my
we can
manager,
like
the guy the
feature
first can
cutout
turn to
stuff.
ask questions.
No,
Doesn't exist.
but okay.
Doesn't exist.
And
Um,
continue.
All right, go ahead. Jeff.
So
He's gonna be thinking about it the whole time.
Uh-huh.
so
Is that all your thoughts, Jack? Oh, okay. Here we go.
wait. It also has to do with the many different factors of how a degree in game development, or in this case, design and interactive design and game development for the university can be used for elsewhere. So towards the ending, he did mention several of his friends. Several of them went to Overwatch, who went on to work on Overwatch. Others went on to work in Volvo. And then some even went to the CIA, even though they can't tell him what they're doing for reasons I'm not gonna get into right now. But yeah, just this article just showcasing some students and what they're passionate about, and also really trying to re-inspire the child's imagination in all of them, in game developers, studios, and stuff like that, and how it can be used for the future.
Cool. I'll go next. This is a really cool article, Jack. All right,
Yeah,
ready?
honest, yeah.
Dude,
Honestly, it is.
we
Yeah,
cut
yeah.
that out already, Jack. It doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist.
No,
Now you gotta cut
no.
out this part too.
Now it's gonna be
Oh, it's
weird.
so
Everybody's
much.
gonna be
Yeah,
like,
it's gonna
why are
be
they saying
weird.
honest so much?
Alika, what are your thoughts on this article?
I think it's pretty great. Yeah, it's just showcasing what you can do with an understanding of how games work. And
Honestly,
honestly, in all honesty. But yeah, you just
I think
understand
that's gonna be the name of the episode.
in all honesty. Yeah.
In all honesty.
But yeah, it's just showcasing what you can do with an understanding of game mechanics and games and how they work, because it's all applicable to pretty much anything in life. life itself is essentially a game, and you make up the win. You make up the win
Wow.
condition. You know, you don't lose until you say so.
Wow.
And the only time you start losing this game is when other people determine your win conditions.
Honest.
Honestly.
Yeah.
Wow, that's actually really, really cool. I love that. You start losing when other people change your win condition.
Yeah.
Wow. All right. So Jack, we've got an email address that they can send us questions to, and where is that?
Wait, you didn't share your thoughts on the local.
He did. He said it was really cool.
Bruh.
Oh, okay.
Honestly, you gotta listen a little closer.
Okay, fine,
To be honest,
fine.
yeah.
Oh, I like
What is
that voice. Fan.
It's not right.
So where's our email, Jack?
At theboardstate@gmail.com.
You're so nervous when you do that. When are you gonna hurt yourself?
One day I am, but I'm not gonna hurt myself. I'm young man. I could do it.
Oh, watch out! Watch out! Oh, he's just.
Watch yourself.
All right, that's gonna do it. Thank you, folks, for listening.
Mahalo.